So describe the steps taken to solve the equation and check the solution to see if it's valid. If it's not a valid solution, explain why. So first things first, what do we do here? We added 6 to both sides. Okay. And then we get 10 over here. All right, now we want x by itself. So what do we do next? Square both sides, and 10 square is going to give me 100. Okay. So let's check and make sure that it works. When we take 100 and we plug it in, do we get 4? Well, what's the square root of 100? 10 minus 6 is 4. And it works. Fantastic. Why? My handwriting, absolutely tragic. Okay. So yes, this works. All right, trying the next one. Okay, what's the first thing that we do here? Add 6 to both sides. Then what do? Cube both sides. That's going to be 1,000, right? Okay, we're going to take 1,000 and we're going to plug it back in. What's the cubic root of 1,000? 10. And 10 minus 6 is going to give me 4. And so it works. Yay. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do on this one is we want to get the square root by itself. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. So that's going to give me x equals -2. And then we're going to square both sides. So then that's going to give me x equals 4, right? Now, when I plug this back in, watch what happens. So this is me checking. Oh, thanks, Holly. All right, so we plug back in. And we're trying to see if it equals 4. When I take the square root of 4, what do I get? And then 2 plus 6 is 8 equal to 4? Okay, so not a valid solution. So this means that there is no solution. Okay. Over here, though, we got this cubic root. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is subtract 6 from both sides. And then we're going to cube both sides. So that's going to give us x equals -8, right? Yeah. So now we're going to check it by plugging it back in. Say words again. All right. When you take the cubic root of -8, you get -2. So it's not imaginary. Remember, square root, we're going to get imaginary. Cubic root, we just get whatever the sign is. Does that make sense? Like if it was a +8, it would be +2. If it's a -8, it's a -2. Think about it this way. What's -2 to the third power? Well, that's -2 times -2 times -2, which is -8. That makes sense? I'm blowing Ella's mind. Fine. All right, so this actually works out. So this would be my answer. Okay. Okay, so on this first one, we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. And that's going to give me the square root of 2x plus 1 equals -3. We're going to square both sides. When we do that, that's going to give us 2x plus 1 equals 9. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides and then divide both sides by 2. Remember, we must check our work. So what we have to do is always plug back in. So we're going to check and we're going to plug 4 back into our original. So that's going to give me 2 times 4 plus 1 plus 5. We're trying to see if that's equal to 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3 plus 5. What does that equal? Is 8 equal to 2? No. So this would not be the answer. No solution. Okay. I know I wrote that fast. One thing to keep in mind when you're solving all this, you're doing reverse PEMDAS. Yeah, reverse. You always do like subtract or adding. Yeah. And then the next thing you're going to do is exponent right there. And then you're going to repeat that process again, subtract or add. Does that make sense? It's reverse. Okay, when you simplify, you go forwards. When you solve, you go reverse order. Messing up, so pay attention. Okay, so right now we have these by itself, right? Like the radicals are by itself. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of the radicals, but you see how there's a 2 chilling out front? Yeah. Okay, so what's 2 squared? 4. Okay, and then we're gonna just drop this radical because the radical squared is gonna just cancel, right? So we're gonna bring down that 5x plus 3. On the other side, when we take a radical and we square it, we're just gonna bring what's on the inside. Okay, so we squared both sides because there was a radical on both sides. We squared both sides. Okay, but this 4, now we're gonna distribute this guy. And that's gonna give us 20x plus 12 equals 3x. Now our job is to get our x's on one side, our numbers on the other, okay? So I'm gonna subtract 3x and put it on the other side. So that's gonna give us 17x plus 12 equals 7. I'm gonna subtract 12 from both sides. And that's gonna give me -5. I'm gonna divide by 17 on both sides. So x is gonna equal -5/17. Now, we do need to check. So that means that we're gonna plug in. I'm gonna substitute this in this Desmos once you finish writing this down. Because what I'm doing here is I'm typing the left-hand side of the equation in and then the right-hand side of the equation in. Okay, I'm gonna substitute in -5/17 into both the left and the right-hand side. Please make sure that you use parentheses, otherwise you're gonna get it wrong. Okay, when you plug in, do I get the same thing? Yes. So my answer is x equals -5/17. Crazy.
Just give it back. It depends on how they say.
Yeah. Okay, so on this one, we need to get the radicals isolated. Okay, now they're both on the same side. We're gonna move this guy to the other side by adding him over there. That's gonna give me 2x minus 5 equals the square root of x plus 6. Now that we have radicals on both sides, we can square. All I did was add this guy to the other side. Yep. This radical. This negative. Like one thing, y'all go crazy. Okay, so now we're gonna square both sides. Okay, so we're gonna square both sides. And that means that we're just gonna take what's on the inside and set them equal to each other. We're gonna solve like we normally do. So we're gonna subtract x from both sides. That's gonna give me x minus 5 equals 6. We're gonna add 5 to both sides. So x is gonna equal 11. And now we've got to check. Yep. So when we plug this back in, we're gonna get, and I'm gonna use Desmos because I'm not here for this. Because it's gonna be like something crazy. Fine. All right, 22 minus 5 minus square root of 11 plus 6. Square root of 17 minus square root of 17. Is that 0 equal to 0? Yes. Okay, it worked out. Okay, Ellen. Okay, so we have a radical by itself. Okay, but we have all this other junk on the other side. So we want to get rid of this radical. We're going to square both sides. Okay. So what's going to happen is this x minus 3, you're going to multiply it out by itself. On this side, the square root disappears. So we're just going to write what's on the inside. I mean, you could do that. Some people need to see it. Okay, so now we're going to distribute this and multiply it out. So that's going to give me x squared minus 3x plus 9 equals 30 minus 2x. I know, quick math. So all I did here, see, this is why I have to show steps. Okay, is I distributed. That's all I did. Okay, now can I combine like terms? Yes. Okay, so that's going to give me x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals all this junk. Now that you've gotten here, you have to move everything to one side because it is a quadratic. The reason why I know it's a quadratic is because it has a squared chilling right here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna subtract 30, move it on to the other side. I'm gonna add 2x and move it to the other side. And so this is gonna give me x squared minus 4x minus 21 equals 0. We're still not done. We do have to factor. Okay, so we do have to find the zeros. So once we get here, you're going to use the big X. A times C is going to give us negative 21. B is going to give us negative 4. What two numbers can I multiply together to get me negative 21, but add together? Okay, negative 7 and 3. So this is going to be X minus 7 times X plus 3. How do we find the zeros? Set them equal to 0 and solve, or just switch the sign. So that means that X is going to equal 7, and then X is also going to equal negative 3. Here's the catch. You now have to check this twice. You can use Desmos for that, for sure, but you want to plug back into the original. That's one thing that a lot of people mess up on. So we're going to take 7 and we're going to plug it in. 7 minus 3 equals the square root of 30 minus 2 times 7. 7 minus 3 is 4 equals the square root of 30 minus 14. 30 minus 14 is 16. And the square root of 16 is 4. So this one worked. Okay, that's a 7. That's a 7. We're yelling. Y'all are so mean. Okay, there you go. Okay, we're gonna plug in negative 3 this time. Okay, when we don't have little faith. Come on. Okay, negative 3. When we plug it in, we're gonna get negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Square root of 30 plus 6. 30 plus 6 is 36. What's the square root of 36? Is 6 equal to negative 6? No, does not work. Your only answer would be X equals 7. It is an extraneous. Just get ready. All right, so we want to get this X sub 2 by itself. Okay, it's underneath this radical. So the first thing that we got to do is square both sides. That's the first thing we're going to do. So we're going to square both sides, and that's going to give me b squared equals X sub 2 minus X sub 1 squared plus Y sub 2 minus Y sub 1 squared. Now, we still want to get X sub 2 by itself, but it's attached to this plus all this junk. So how do we move this junk to the other side? Don't ignore it. You have to subtract, right? Okay, so we're going to subtract this and move it to the other side. Yeah, I just work it. Okay, so this is going to give me e squared minus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared equals x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared. Now, we still need to get x sub 2 by itself, but it has this exponent. How do we get rid of this exponent? Take the square root. Take the square root. Oh, it gets worse. All right, so we're going to get the square root of d squared minus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared equals x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now, how do we get x sub 2 by itself? We're going to add x sub 1 to the other side. And, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of this craziness. You could potentially see this. I don't think they ask these questions anymore because it's just kind of rando. So they could have a variable. Like there's the next problem that y'all are gonna see. You will see this in physics. Yeah, it's like a whole thing. Yeah, yep, whole thing. I just reckoned. Okay, so really quick, in physics, you'd have this. This is kinetic energy. You learned about it in like 8th grade science or so. And then it's asking you to solve for velocity. You can do this. You could rearrange this. This is almost like rearranging your bed furniture. Okay, so if I had something like this and I want to get V by itself, how do I get rid of the 1/2? Multiply by 2. Okay, so that's 2 kinetic energy equals mv squared. Now what? Divide by m. So that would be 2 kinetic energy divided by m equals v squared. Now what we do? Take the square root. 2 kinetic energy divided by m equals v. Boom, done. It's not that bad. You're able to do it. Same concept's going to happen down here at the bottom. There is a velocity of a gas molecule. This you will only see in AP physics. Okay. So if you take you can take regular physics or you can take AP physics. I took AP physics. It wasn't that bad. Y'all are pretty good at math.
Okay, that's not bad.
Not bad at math. Okay. So this would be the worst thing you potentially would see if you don't like variables. But this first problem really wasn't that bad. Really wasn't that bad. Have I seen one of these on an exam for y'all? Yes. Okay. I definitely think that this is fair game. Okay.